Good morning, everyone. Today we are talking about a human body plan, the first section, chapter 45. It's Anas Abbasi with you. Welcome aboard. Let's talk about the objectives we are going to discuss in this section. The first one, we need to discuss or know the four types of tissues that make up the human body. Then we move to see how tissues, organs, and organ systems are organized. Then we'll summarize the functions of the primary organ systems in the human body, which are 11 systems in our body, so we need to know the structure and function of these systems. Finally, we'll talk about the 5 human body cavities, which contains the organs that found in it. Finally, we'll talk about the 5 human body cavities, which contains the organs that found in our body.
The human body is a complex network of cells, tissues, and organs that together make life possible. 10 major systems are responsible for the body's functions: skeletal, muscular, cardiovascular, nervous, endocrine, lymphatic, respiratory, digestive, urinary, reproductive. The skeletal, muscular, cardiovascular, and nervous systems in particular create an infrastructure that facilitates the other systems. The adult skeletal system is a framework of over 200 bones. They hold the body together, give it shape, and protect its organs and tissues. The skeleton also provides anchor points for the muscular system, which includes 3 types of muscles: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. They are found throughout the body and facilitate movement. Nestled within these muscles is the cardiovascular system, a pipeline that includes the heart, blood vessels, and the blood itself. Also called the circulatory system, the cardiovascular system delivers oxygen, white blood cells, hormones, and nutrients throughout the body. Lastly, the nervous system is a communication network of nerve cells that the body uses to transmit information and coordinate bodily functions. It's comprised of the brain, the hub of sensory and intellectual activity, the spinal cord, and the many cranial and spinal nerves that emanate from them. This infrastructure, created by neurons, blood, muscles, and bones, allows 3 other systems to regulate the body's environment: the endocrine, lymphatic, and urinary systems. The endocrine system is a series of glands that use information carried by the nervous system to help regulate the body's processes. Thanks to this neural connection, endocrine glands, such as the thyroid, are aware of the amount of hormones and other chemicals they need to produce. These chemicals are then distributed throughout the body by way of the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular and nervous systems are also utilized by the lymphatic system, a collection of lymph nodes and vessels that help regulate the body's defenses. Also called the immune system, the lymphatic system uses neural pathways to transmit information about affected areas of the body and then sends out healing agents like white blood cells via the bloodstream. Another key regulatory system is the urinary system, which includes the kidneys, ureters, bladder, and urethra. The urinary or renal system maintains the body's electrolyte levels and filters waste from the blood. This waste is sent through the blood vessels into the kidneys and then expelled as urine. All of these systems require energy to function, and that's where the respiratory and digestive systems come in. The respiratory system is a group of passageways and organs that extracts life-giving oxygen from the air we breathe. Air enters the body through nasal cavities, travels down the throat, and is then transported to the lungs. The lungs extract oxygen for the body to use and then expel a carbon dioxide byproduct when we exhale. Energy can also come in the form of food. The digestive system is an approximately 30-foot series of organs that convert food into fuel. Food enters the system through the mouth, then moves into the esophagus, the stomach, and the intestines. Nutrients are absorbed into the body while solid waste is expelled through the anal canal, the end of the digestive tract. No matter the role, size, or shape of any of the body's systems, each began with the reproductive system. This system is responsible for creating life. The primary organs involved differ between the sexes, with ovaries, fallopian tubes, the uterus, and vagina found in women, and testes and a sperm channel found in men. Together, fertilization may occur, organ systems form, and then a child is born. Humans are complicated organisms, but when our 10 major organ systems are healthy, they ensure our well-being.
Let's start with the tissue. Who can tell me what's tissues? Thank you. So tissues are a collection of cells that have similar structure that works together to perform a particular function. So group of similar cells works together to perform a function. Who can give me some examples? Wonderful. Let's start with muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is the one which is responsible for contracting in coordinated fashion. So, like this picture, these are the muscular cells. We'll talk about the structure, function, anatomy of these tissues in details in the muscular system section. But for now, let's see what are the three major groups of muscular tissue. Mainly we have three types of muscles: skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. The skeletal muscle is attached to your bones and move it like your trunk, limbs, face, while the smooth muscles handle body functions that you cannot control consciously. That means you cannot control it. Who can give me some example of these organs? Wonderful. Your stomach, your esophagus, your small intestine, and many other organs in your body. The last type is the cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle is found in your heart only. It pumps the blood through your body. And from this type of muscle, we can call the circulatory system as cardiovascular system. We'll talk about it later. Thank you. Now, let's move on. Next tissue is the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue contains cells that connects our organs or body and control it. Now, actually, it's responsible for sending, receiving messages. This tissue is made up of cells we call neurons, which is responsible for receiving and transmitting messages in the form of electrical impulses. Later on, when we discuss the nervous system, we learn how impulses are generated and transmitted. And of course, because our body is made up of cells and they need order and they need to give information and receive information, so this tissue is distributed all over your body. The next tissue, epithelial tissue. The epithelial tissue is the one which is composed of sheet of cells that cover your body surface and lines the body cavity. From this sentence we can conclude that its function is protection mainly, because it covers the body from outside, covers the body from inside, so it's a protective layer. Now, epithelial tissue is found in various thicknesses, arrangements, that depends on the location where it is found. For instance, the skin, it's different from your intestine, different from your heart, different from your liver. Each one needs different type of protection. Now, each epithelial layer is formed from cells that are tightly bound together, like this one, often providing protective barrier for these surfaces, just as we discussed earlier. Next tissue, it's the connective tissue. From its name, it connects things together. Let's see. Connective tissue is a tissue that has a lot of intracellular substances that connects and supports other tissues. So the main part who's working efficiently, it's its content, the intracellular substance, and we know what is that term. It's called matrix. This matrix is a substance that gives the connective tissue its strength and flexibility. This substance can be in 3 states of matter: solid, semi-solid, or liquid. We'll talk about it in details when we go and discuss that types. This picture shows some examples and locations of the tissues, like the connective tissue is found here. Skeletal muscle, epithelial tissues, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, nervous tissue, and so on. Let's move to our next objective. Organ and organ systems. Now, who can tell me what's an organ? Great. Group of tissues functions together. An organ consists of various tissues that work together to carry out a specific function. Now, a group of organs, when they interact, they form the organ system. So the organ system is the group of organs that interacts together or functions together. Like the digestive system contains a stomach. Organ systems work together to function in an efficient, integrated manner. So when these organ systems work together, they will do the major function of living. Fine. Look at this list. We have 11 systems in this table: circulatory, digestive, endocrine, excretory, immune, integumentary, muscular, nervous, reproductive, respiratory, and skeletal systems. Each one showing the major structure or organs in the system. Then it shows the major function of the system. Of course, some organs may have dual or 3 functions in different systems, but this is the main function related to this system. Now, since we mentioned that organ systems work together, so let's talk about the integration of these organ systems. An even higher level of organization is the integration of organ systems. This is why we are considered at the top of the pyramid. The integration of organ system can be described as each organ system have organs associated with it according to that organ's primary function. This is so the organ system can work more efficiently. Last but not least, let's talk about the body cavities. Sorry. The body cavities, it's actually like rooms in your house. Each room contains different components. Each room is made for different purpose and provides some characteristics or properties that differ from other rooms. Let's see. Inside our body we have cavities. Many organ and organ systems in the human body are housed in compartments called body cavities. These cavities mainly functions to protect and support. So they protect the internal organs from injuries and permit organ to function while remaining securely supported. So the main function of the cavity is a protection. Each human cavity can contain one or more organs. So the cavities can have one organ, or it may contain different organs from different systems, depends on the location. We have 5 cavities in our body, including cranial cavity, spinal cavity, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, and pelvic cavity. The cranial cavity protects the brain, so it contains supports and protects the brain. Spinal cavity protects the spinal cord. Thoracic cavity protects the heart, esophagus, and the organs of your respiratory system like the lungs, trachea, and so on. Abdominal cavity, it protects the digestive system. Pelvic cavity, it protects the organ of your reproductive system and excretory system. So if you notice, the 5 cavities are distributed over your body to protect a vital group of organs you have. That does not mean the other organs are not important, but these are vital for your living. So they need extra protection and support. This picture shows the cavities of the human body. Cranial cavity contains the brain or protects the brain. Spinal cavity protects the spine. Thoracic cavity protects your respiratory system and the heart. Abdominal cavity protects your digestive system organs. Pelvic cavity protects your reproductive and excretory systems. And if you notice, we have this muscle which we call diaphragm, which help you in respiration or in breathing. So this is not a cavity, but this one separates the thoracic cavity from abdominal cavity. You should notice this one.
If you poke and prod at your abdomen, you might be tempted to think that your body is a solid mass of bone, muscle, organs, and tragically for some of us, fat. But it turns out that our bodies actually contain many important spaces or cavities. Some of these cavities, like for example the nasal cavity, open to the outside of the body. However, most of our cavities are internal. Body cavities have several important functions. Firstly, they protect delicate organs, like for example the brain, from bumps and shock when we walk, run, and jump. Secondly, cavities allow internal organs to change shape and size. For example, our lungs, stomach, and bladder can all expand and contract because they sit inside cavities. And lastly, body cavities provide a warm, nurturing space for foreign creatures to implant into, grow, and burst from in the Alien movies.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
The human body consists of 2 main cavities: the dorsal body cavity and the ventral body cavity. If you're not sure what the terms dorsal and ventral mean, check out my other video on anatomical terminology. Let's start with the dorsal body cavity. It can be divided into 2 parts, the cranial cavity and the spinal cavity. The cranial cavity is the space formed by the bones of the skull. It contains the brain. The spinal cavity, which is sometimes also called the vertebral canal, is a space formed by the bones of the vertebral column. The spinal cavity contains the spinal cord. Next is the ventral body cavity. It can be subdivided into 2 parts, the superior thoracic cavity and the inferior abdominopelvic cavity, which is separated by a flat muscular sheet called the diaphragm. The thoracic cavity can be subdivided into the left and right pleural cavities and a central pericardial cavity. The pleural cavities contain the lungs, and the pericardial cavity contains the heart. Separating these 3 cavities is a partition called the mediastinum. The abdominopelvic cavity can be subdivided into a superior abdominal cavity and an inferior pelvic cavity. The abdominal cavity contains the stomach, liver, spleen, kidneys, small intestine, and most of the large intestine. The pelvic cavity contains the bladder and internal reproductive organs.
Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your time. Wait for the next lesson.